Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to our Boost Your Agility with Connected Planning Virtual Summit. I'm Gustavo Amorim, Marketing VP for Finance and Operations Applications for Europe, Middle East, and Africa here at Oracle. Today, we're actually going to talk about something that is quite exciting. We're going to discuss the new imperatives of planning, and I'm pleased to have with me my colleague Wayne Heather, Executive Director of Product Marketing for Enterprise Performance Management. So, hi Wayne, morning.
Hey Gustavo, thanks, it's great to be here. And it's great to be here to share sort of the developments of planning, what we're seeing in the marketplace in terms of strategies and technologies that finance and lines of business leaders can adopt to really kind of achieve that connected enterprise-wide planning.
Cool, awesome. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of stories and customer stories to share with us so that we look into how our customers are navigating planning imperatives in this new scenario that we all live in. And maybe I'll start with a personal reflection, right? So when I look back, and not much back, but thinking about and talking about change in business is something that has been around for quite a while. Actually, even when you have conversations with your friends and you ask them a simple question, you say, hey, how is work? How is life? And a lot of times people will come and say, yeah, you know, it's hard. Things just keep changing all the time. It's hard to keep up. And so we got really used. I got really used to incorporate and talk about change all the time. And speed, I think, was the key factor that was always associated with change. So, but then 2020 came, right, which was just last year. And everything changed, but not so much around speed. But the disruption that we saw actually brought a new keyword to change, which was intensity. So a lot of people will say that the future of business has arrived a lot sooner than expected. And that has altered a lot of business priorities. So we all know the concerns around health and safety and how every company now takes that into consideration in the way that they interact with their customers, the way that they engage with their employees, and also how the labor market has dramatically changed based on that. Other factors, we've seen that preserving cash has become a really, really top-line priority for every business. And then if you look at the news today, we constantly hear about supply chain disruptions, rising energy prices, inflation pressures. So all those things, they put a lot of stress in how companies and business operate. And my personal reflection, actually, as a marketing professional, sometimes I do feel I work in finance because I plan, I budget, I forecast, I report. And honestly, this has been something I got very comfortable in doing on a quarterly basis before. And now sometimes I feel that after I actually do my plan and I set my budget, then I'm constantly forecasting and reassessing scenarios so that I ensure I'm always on top of my plan and my budget. So if you paid attention to what I said, step one in that was planning, was setting up a plan. And I only imagine, right, I'm one line of business in marketing. I'm imagining all the other parts in every organization have to do continuous planning. So Wayne, what have you been seeing? What are your thoughts in how things are transforming on how companies are approaching planning?
Thanks, Gustavo. And you're most certainly right. What we've seen is the cadence of planning has increased significantly In fact, most companies are moving away from a periodic forecast and moving to that sort of continuous cycle of reforecasting all the time. And it's not a surprise, in a recent study that I read, 56% of CFOs emphasized the need to aggressively pursue operational flexibility and agility. And the key thing for me there is, CFO looking at operational agility. So the truth is, I think plans nowadays are made to be changed, refined, adjusted continuously. It's kind of less about creating the perfect plan and more about that refinement and reforecasting. As we see, the role of finance has also changed massively. So, they've moved more to partner with operations and line of business to help them guide them through uncertainty. The way we see it is, in this new world that you described, connected enterprise planning, it's not just best practice. I think it's a necessity for companies. And today we're going to hear, recent research, some thought leadership, and a few case studies about companies and how they're embracing connected planning and boosting their agility in the process.
Sounds like a great agenda. And the first thing we're going to do is look and have an overview of what's the market situation. So we partnered with the MIT Technology Review Insights so that we could understand a little better through a worldwide research how companies were conducting strategic planning in the current times. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how do you see connected planning as an approach to help businesses actually achieve a more effective planning process?
Thanks, Gustavo. That's a great question. And I guess sometimes we get asked that quite a lot. So the way I like to talk to organizations about why these things must be addressed and how they must be addressed is quite simple. So if we look at the future of finance, what the future of finance looks like, there's been a lot written about that by various research companies, etc. And we've just heard from MIT. So if we look at the future of finance, there's three things, three important themes, I think, which resonate with what we've just heard, actually, which is reimagine finance, empower decisions, and automate tasks. So if you give me a second to briefly explain, finance's role in organizations has significantly changed. So a new reimagined finance model should reflect that, right? Finance has moved away from being custodians of money, and they more strategic partners with the business, and they like to partner with the business and become strategic advisors. So it's imperative that they collaborate more with operations and lines of business. So bearing that in mind, it's kind of vital that they connect planning across business and operations and break down those data silos so they can all make decisions on a uniform, complete, connected plan across the business. So all lines of business can see what effect their plans and actions have on the overall business. If we look at empowering decisions, you've got to make decisions with insights. And to do that, you have to leverage all the data within your company, not just financial, but operational. And this extends to internal and external data. You need to lower the skills or the skills bar on data science by embedding data science in the context of everyday business activities, right? So why not let data science predict your most likely forecast, and then you as a human can add context to flex that based on what you know about the business. This can't be achieved on spreadsheets. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is automating tasks. So finance people, and arguably, most people in an organization, didn't study in their field to spend loads of time gathering and analyzing data. So reduce finance labor or reduce the manual labor in finance, by automating these tasks, right? Why not let pattern detection, for example, uncover bias anomalies in your forecast and do the analysis for you? So you as a finance person can have meaningful conversations with operations. Finance can be focused on value-added activities with the lines of business rather than just analyzing data. So I guess to achieve this, companies must look at adopting a planning platform that delivers this capability for stakeholders beyond finance. So those stakeholders can maintain their independence, own their plan, but still connect with finance. Like you said, finance is the glue, right? so they can incorporate financial and operational plans to provide visibility across the whole company. And what we find is a majority of the companies out there actually welcoming and adopting a connected planning approach to achieve greater agility and move more quickly in today's world.
Okay, so you mentioned three things. I'm taking notes here. You said reimagine finance, empowering decisions, and then automating tasks.
That's correct, yeah.
Are those imperatives that apply to pretty much every company, regardless maybe of size or even industry that they operate in, or you see some types of businesses where this is more applicable?
No, absolutely, Gustavo. We see this in every industry, in every size of business. You know, a lot of people have realized that you know, they have to move this way. And as MIT said, you know, the adoption of cloud has accelerated massively, and that's made it easy for customers to adopt a true connected planning approach. Let's be honest, you know, smaller companies, I guess they can be more nimble, make changes quicker. But if you look at larger organizations, okay, they expect to greatly improve processes at a higher level by connecting planning across the board. So, you know, we've seen connected planning in different sizes of companies, different industries, and this has definitely helped. So, you know, a few examples I can think of where companies have moved sort of outside of core financial planning and moved to operational planning is, you know, a small Dutch chocolate manufacturer. And they do sales and demand planning based on the ethically sourced cocoa beans from their suppliers, right? There's a large petroleum company, and you'd expect petroleum company to be very revenue focused, but they actually do a lot of retail sales planning. So each one of their gas stations have got a retail shop, and they do retail planning. Then there's a motorway company, large motorway company, for example, and they do a lot of you know, big projects around the motorway. So they use planning to plan for those projects and the headcount needed.
Final remarks, any final thoughts from your side?
Just if we look at connected enterprise planning, so connecting your planning processes throughout your organization, I know it seems quite a big leap or very aspirational, but the key thing is, you know, you don't have to boil the ocean. I would say a few things to do is, first of all, you know, plan a roadmap, get C-suite sponsorship, and then you can start, you know, most people start in finance, they refine those processes, you know, standardize planning throughout the entire finance organization, and then start expanding into other lines of business and operations. For example, you know, one that we see often is they're moving to include workforce planning and HR and connect that to finance, maybe moving into sales, etc. So, you know, it's not a big bang approach. You can do it in a step-by-step approach, and it is possible to do that way, right? So it's, I guess, up to each and every one of us as finance leaders to invest in strategies, capabilities, and technologies that can help position us for success and move down that roadmap to connected enterprise planning. And, you know, as your partners in this journey, Oracle over here stands ready to help you and help you in that journey to connect true enterprise planning. So yeah, thank you for having me, Gustavo.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, Wayne. Thank you. We did prepare a resource page for you on connected planning, where you can find lots of materials, some of the things that we talked about here today, and a lot more to actually do what Wayne just said, which is take the steps you need to take that make sense in your reality, in your business, so that you can further advance your planning capabilities. And we thought of making it easy for you and just putting it all in one place that you could find that. So we hope this was informational and hopefully helpful as well, and a good jumpstart into your journey to a more connected organization. Thanks everybody for your time today. We look forward to seeing you in the next Oracle Cloud Virtual Summit.